So you've gone ahead and installed OpenClaw. That's awesome. But, a default installation is a bit like a brand new house with all the doors and windows left wide open. Today, we are going to build a complete security playbook to turn that standard setup into an absolute fortress.
You've got it up and running, which is fantastic. Really, that's the first big step. But the real work, that starts right now. We're going to move way beyond that basic it works setup and actually start turning your installation into something robust, something ready for real-world challenges. So, our playbook today is broken down into 5 key parts. First, we'll lay a super secure foundation. Then, we'll move on to hardening the gateway. After that, we'll tackle how to manage external connections safely. Then we'll get into the day-to-day security routines, and finally, we'll build a rock-solid incident response plan for when things go wrong. Okay, let's dive right in at the very beginning, because honestly, the first decisions you make are the most critical ones. The security of your entire system is really built on this initial foundation, so let's spend a minute to make sure it's absolutely unshakable.
First off, where you deploy OpenClaw matters a lot. You've got to think of isolation as your very first line of defense. Running it on its own dedicated virtual server, or maybe a spare Mac Mini, or even an isolated Docker container, that prevents any potential issue from spilling over and compromising your personal computer, or worse, your main work machine.
Now this one is a golden rule. It's totally non-negotiable. If your application ever gets compromised, running it as a standard non-root user severely limits the damage an attacker can do. They'll basically be trapped inside that user's permissions, unable to take over the whole system. It's such a simple step with a massive security payoff.
And check this out. A single line in your config file can be the difference between secure and just wide open. Binding to 0.0.0.0, that's like putting a giant neon sign on your house for the entire internet to see. But binding to localhost means only processes on that same machine can even talk to the gateway. The choice here is crystal clear. Always bind to localhost.
Okay, with our foundation nice and solid, it's time to secure the main entry point. The gateway is how everything communicates with OpenClaw, so we need to lock that thing down and lock it down tight.
You should think of this auth token as the master key to your entire OpenClaw fortress. And I don't just mean it's a password. It's the secret that authorizes every single command, every interaction. So you've got to make it long, make it random, and guard it very, very carefully. This right here is a core security practice you just can't ignore. Hard-coding your auth token or any API key into a config file is just asking for trouble. And this isn't some theoretical risk. Huge, major breaches have started with one single key accidentally getting committed to a public GitHub repository. Always use environment variables to keep your secrets separate from your code.
Okay, next up, you need to control exactly who can talk to your gateway. Enabling device pairing and then maintaining a very strict allow list is absolutely essential. Only the users or services you explicitly authorize should be on this list. Keep it as small as possible and make a habit of reviewing it to kick out anything that's no longer needed.
All right, so our fortress is pretty secure from the outside. But now we probably need to poke a few holes in it so we can connect with other services using plugins and webhooks. Let's make sure we do that in the safest way possible.
This is your golden rule for any external interaction. You should never, ever trust content coming from the outside. Doesn't matter if it's an email, a web page, or an API call. By starting everything in read-only mode, you help prevent nasty prompt injection attacks, where someone could trick your system into executing dangerous commands. Only grant write permissions when it's absolutely necessary and with extreme caution.
Think of every single enabled plugin as a potential door into your system. The more plugins you have running, the larger your attack surface is. You have to be ruthless here. Go through and audit what you have, disable anything you don't actively use, and be really careful about vetting any new plugin before you even think about installing it.
A fortress is only as strong as its guards. You can't just set all this up and then walk away. This section is all about the daily discipline, the routines that will keep your OpenClaw instance secure for the long haul.
You need to make this command your new best friend. Seriously, it's like having a built-in security consultant. After every single configuration change you make, I don't care how small it is, run a deep security audit. It'll check your whole setup against best practices and flag any potential vulnerabilities you might have accidentally introduced.
And hey, don't underestimate the power of just keeping things simple. One of the most effective security tools you have is literally the update button.
Security fixes are constantly being released in minor and patch versions. A simple check once a week keeps you protected from known exploits with almost no effort.
Try to make this a daily 5-minute ritual. Just a quick scan of your logs for things like failed login attempts from weird IPs, monitor your agents for any sudden spikes in activity, check that your system heartbeats look normal, and running the doctor command here can also proactively catch misconfigurations, stuff like incorrect file permissions, before they become real security holes.
And finally, no matter how good your defenses are, you have to prepare for the worst-case scenario. Having a clear, practiced incident response plan means you can act quickly and effectively, minimizing damage when those alarm bells finally ring.
Okay, this is your emergency sequence. The moment you even suspect a breach, don't hesitate. First, yank the machine off the network, isolate it. Then, this is the most critical step. Rotate every single credential. Your gateway token, your API keys, all of it. Only then do you start working on containing the threat and recovering your system.
Of course, your recovery plan is pretty much useless without something to recover from. A clean, recent backup is your lifeline. You can use the built-in commands to automate backups of your essential memory and configuration files. And please, test your restore process before you're in the middle of a 5-alarm fire. So remember, the playbook we've just walked through, it's not a one-time checklist you just tick off and you're done. It's a continuous process. It's this cycle of building a secure foundation, hardening it, monitoring it vigilantly, and always being prepared to respond. That ongoing process, that's what truly keeps your system secure.